Okay. You good?
Yeah, it was rolling.
Oh, I see. Hey guys, I have Shannon with me today. We did a video last year at VidCon, and so we're just like, it has to happen again. I wanted to make a video with Shannon about monogamy versus polyamory. So I'm in a monogamous relationship, and you are, how would you define your relationship?
Open.
Okay.
Or free, definitely those terms.
What does that mean to you? Because obviously every open relationship is different. So what are your rules, boundaries? Where do you draw the line on things?
It definitely is always a dialogue, and I like the term free because it just essentially means that you're still an independent person. You make your own decisions. You're sharing time with me, or sharing a life with me, or in my case, sharing a home with me. But at the same time, when you make a choice, you make it for yourself. But you have to consider the partnership. So in many ways, it almost exists a lot like a friendship, where it's like you might have a really good friend who you're like, hey, is it cool if I do this? But if your friend says no, you get to still decide whether or not it's right or wrong for you. So there's no hard rules around like you cannot flirt with this person. There's no hard boundaries, but there's a lot of respect. I was on The View and I described it initially as
it was like to some,
open
like,
means no rules, and they're like, no rules, like you can't do this, and there's
it was
a
just
million.
all of these like mums, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, you don't love your partner. You're a bad person.
It's a sign that there's bad things in the relationship.
Yeah.
Like, it's interesting because I think open relationships and polyamorous relationships definitely are very often misunderstood. Do you think you would have that kind of relationship with anyone, or do you think it's specific to your relationship with your current partner?
I never really thought about it until my current relationship. And how it basically happened is that we just kept deepening our bond. We began as... You swear on your channel?
Yes.
Okay. We began as fuck buddies. It was like a really great, incredible fuck buddy relationship. And then we started to rely on each other for like, hey, I'm going away. Please water my plants. Like, we were exchanging keys. And it was like, I'm going to this event. Do you want to come with me? And like, we just continued to enjoy each other's time. And then it came to a place where we were living together. And it was like...
And you're like, wait
what
a second.
do we call this? We had created this foundation of really just like friendship with a deep desire and connection, like a deep sexual attraction. But at the same time, now we were growing in intimacy, and we just decided that term, because I would go to New York and be like, hey, I'm going to New York. There's a dude when I go there who takes me around. We hang out, we make out. I am a sexually monogamous person, which is not important to mention. Everyone has their own way of defining openness, but for me, my desire to be in one has never been sexual based, but it really has been about flirting, connection, sometimes making out. I do desire that exchange, and I just don't work well with authority figures. Someone telling me I can't do something.
It's like, no, you're not allowed.
It doesn't work for me. Now that I'm in this style, I'm like, it definitely deeply honors me, and I would want one going forward, but no, I didn't beforehand, no.
Yeah, that's really interesting to me, because I didn't realize that your openness in terms of like how you personally go about it is not sexual. You can have an open relationship where you're like, yeah, you can fuck other people, it's fine, but then you might be like, but I don't choose to.
I just act single. Because when I was single, the same thing. I definitely have like not been in a sexual relationship outside of a relationship in like over 7 years. And so even as a single woman, I might receive oral sex and that's it.
Yeah.
Or I might just make out and that's it. How I behave when I was single is the same way I behave in a relationship. I'd say that.
That's nice, because I feel like a lot of resentment in relationships comes up when you are going about your life and you feel like, I can't talk to this person, or I'm behaving wrong around this person, and then you feel anxious all the time, and you feel like you're not allowed to kind of like be yourself in a lot of situations because of how your partner would react. Problems, and then you end up cheating, which is something that wasn't agreed in the relationship.
You just broke down 10 years,
Yeah.
all in 3 seconds. So I'm curious for you, you describe relationship as monogamous. There's a difference between open, monogamish, polyamory, swinging. Polyamory is when all partners are equal. So they don't put any specification on the primary partnership. And monogamish really is when it's like, yeah, we go to a strip club together and we both get private dances in the back room. Or maybe we go to parties and we like both flirt with the waiter. Maybe we're on chat rooms and that, we have a live webcam girl.
Yeah.
Or something like we have a threesome.
I could imagine my relationship maybe developing into something that's monogamish, but currently it's mostly monogamous. It should be in any relationship, whatever type of relationship you're having an open dialogue is just so important. One of the great things that I love about kind of polyamorous relationships is that I look at them and how healthy they are and how happy everyone is and how good the communication is. I'm like, oh my god, some monogamous people really need to like learn from you guys. For me, it's like, I'm just very happy, we're very happy in the current situation and how it works, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's what it's going to be like forever.
And that's the healthiest adjunct. My pet peeve questions when people are like, think you guys will eventually, move towards close? I'm like, this isn't like Mario Kart with there's levels. Like, we started off as fuck buddies, we graduate to open, hopefully this time next year. Like, we do what's authentically right for the partnership, and we have the conversations. And I do think that a problem with conventional monogamy is that people look at it like, okay, great, somebody has written the rules for me. There's already like an autopilot. You know, I know
that's so true.
If I'm in a monogamous relationship, there's things that we can and can't do because, you know, somebody has pre-written and told us what that is.
Because even if you're in a monogamous relationship, what about flirting? What about finding someone else attractive and commenting on it? Sharing a bed with somebody. Nothing's going on, but you're sharing a bed with somebody of the gender that you are attracted to.
Because you have a lot of male friends. Like I was saying that, because I know you have a mystery relationship, but I was like, is it this dude? Is it this dude? And she's like, no, it's just friends on a trip. And so your relationship allows you to still continue on with not same-sex friends.
If I was ever in a relationship where my partner made me feel like I couldn't have male friends, I'd be like, red flag.
Compatibility is, you know, is a very intricate process, and compatibility is extremely important, but myself and my partner are very similar in that regard. Like, he has less sexual partners than I have had, previous to us even meeting, and so we're both people who are, like, very conscious of health. We get checked very frequently. When we first got together, he's being checked, like, once every 2 months. I'm like, bruh, I'm not having sex with nobody else, but he was still, like, really, really on it. So our values in that way aligned, and we knew what we really desired out of an open relationship is the fact of freedom and personal choice and not having the rules. I was in a monogamous relationship previously. There was constant cheating. Not that soured me, but I mean, I was definitely mentioning to my partner, I'm like, if I can date other people, it's okay. But you know, there was just rules that I wasn't allowed to, and then it was lying, and I found myself being the person who was going through his phone, trying to figure out passwords, because you become an investigator. And in my current relationship, I've never gone through his phone before.
Going through your partner's phone, to me, without their permission, is just like a big red flag for me. Early signs of like being distrustful and like not respecting their privacy and things like that.
But most people graduate to that. After a few times of being wronged or some weird things that they've seen, when you get to that point, you got to stop and be like, maybe we change the relationship style. People want to be successful. People don't want to be douchebags. They don't want to be assholes. What they also don't want to do sometimes is be authentic with themselves and say, I just don't function well in this style of relationship.
Yes.
Same way some people don't do 9-to-5s well. That's just not how you work best. Let's find you in a relationship that brings out the best in you and allows you to be successful.
And I think a lot of people find it to be a really difficult conversation to have, and it is, because you might be going to your partner who's someone who you love and respect and you care so deeply about, and vice versa, and you're saying to them, hey, I need more, or I need something different. That's not the same as saying you're not enough for me. And it doesn't have to like change your fundamental feelings towards that person. It just means that like for you just have other desires and other needs. That's fine. And I think the way that monogamy is like put on a pedestal in society, it's very much like you punish yourself for having any feelings or anything that is outside of, like you said, the like autopilot prescribed rule book.
At the end of the day, people have multiple children, not because they don't love one enough or the one wasn't good enough. You know, you have multiple friends. You may have multiple jobs, you know, a lot of coworkers that you enjoy spending time with, multiple hobbies. And so I don't look at it as very dissimilar. At the end of the day, I always say like new can't compete with old. Familiarity, trust, comfort, all those things are incredible. On the flip side, old can't compete with new. You
Novelty,
know?
Excitement.
Yeah. And I think you
potential.
Draw the line in terms of your health, your own emotional and physical health. Of course, you don't want to be constantly chasing something new, but if you can find a level to experience that and somebody who also is on the same page of like that's okay with them, then that might be for you. I'm a big proponent of that's not for me. You know? If you can add for me to any sentence, I'm not offended. You've been so honorable of being like, you know, we're in a monogamous relationship. I can potentially see and we're open and we're always talking, but right now that's not for me.
But I also think of it as like, it's not for us. It's not always just about one person in a relationship. There's two of you, maybe more, if you're polyamorous. The way that I think of it is like the way that the two of us work together, what is best for our relationship. And sometimes you might have to put personal desires on hold.
I'll debate you on that, on this one particular topic.
Okay, good.
I do think there's like 5 things you should not compromise on.
Okay.
But you dictate what those 5 things are.
Oh, so you pick the 5 things?
You choose the 5 things.
What are your 5 things?
Securely attached.
What does that mean?
Somebody who's not anxious or clingy or avoidant. That type of like, it's cool if my girl likes other dudes' photos. Or you didn't call them and they're like, where have you been all day? Like, I can't do that.
No.
Speaks my love language is also really, really important to me.
What are your love languages?
Touch and then acts of service.
I'm touch and words of affirmation.
Oh, wow. You look beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Your shirt is gorgeous. This is great color.
My partner's is touch and quality time.
You don't have to have the same language. You have to just speak the other person's language.
Yes, you need.
That's what's so important to know.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, pick some 5 things, and there's a list. You can go to the science behind happily ever after. There's a list of 20 things that are deeply important if you Google that.
There was a New York Times article that I read today. Do you remember the like 36 questions that will help you fall in love with a stranger? Yes. It's like a follow-up from that. They live together and they have a contract, but like not like a 50 Shades contract, but like who does the laundry, who does this.
Yes.
And when you are like a couple living together, it's very similar to managing a business, and so it's a lot of stuff like that, and they review it every so often. It's really cool.
One of the things on the list is actually useful, and the explanation of that is like, can do laundry, does fix the car, does taxes.
Yes.
I can't tell you how many people I do that quiz with who rate that as extremely low. So if a part of your top 5 things is that you are a high novelty seeker, or that you are an extroverted person, the Myers-Briggs thing, and you get recharged from new experiences and meeting new people, then don't compromise that. That should be one of the things that you're like, nah, this is a me thing. But there's definitely things that are 18, 25, or even 10 on your list that you're like, okay, cool, I can live without having all of my needs met.
And I think that's really important as well, like knowing yourself so well and your partner knowing themselves so well. Sometimes you might just ultimately come to the conclusion that you're not compatible. Do you know? And like letting go of that and realizing that is equally as important as like putting in the little bits of work that require a healthy relationship to thrive.
I could not I agree with you more. A sentence that people have to say more often is, we're just not compatible. And in relationships, a lot of times, like people even ask about, you know, what's a deal breaker? There is no deal breakers. For me, going in a restaurant with a guy who doesn't pay is bad, but for somebody who's very interested in saving money, they're like, wow, he really is frugal, and I value that. So there is no set deal breakers. There's somebody for everybody, but you have to be honest about who you are to start.
Oh, all of your experiences of monogamous relationships been negative? Have you had any good,
I've
positive?
had an amazing one in college.
Yeah.
In college, I had an incredible guy who was just so sweet, and I moved. I was in school in Baltimore, and I came back to Canada. My parents are in a monogamous 30-plus year marriage.
Yeah, same.
And so
I mean, I assume they're monogamous.
Yeah, my sister is in a monogamous relationship. I mean, everybody around us in the day,
Yeah.
it's like most people are in them. I think they're incredible and awesome, and I know people who are deeply honored by them. I do know friends who should not be in a monogamous relationship.
This type of relationship is not compatible with you.
Yeah, and you just didn't make the same mistakes over and over again. So I'm not saying do it. I'm not saying I'm trying to like tell the world or poison you guys. I'm just saying make the list, be honest about what makes you excited, what brings out the best in you, and then align yourself with a relationship where those values are valued.
What would your advice be to someone who is maybe in a monogamous relationship and is like wanting to broach the topic? How would they do that?
Focus on yourself. Do not say one thing about, well, I just feel like we don't. I get energized from new experiences. I find myself going out and having a wandering eye. But when I do that, because even for me, it's like I had the show, I went on like over 40 first dates. And some of the dates I connected with people on. But when I came home, it like actually made me more excited to connect with my partner. And because he was a part of that, because he doesn't exclude himself from that part of my life.
Does he watch the show?
Yeah. He's still like, you know, I bring that energy back to my partnership. If you can say that, where it's like, this excites me and, you know, it allows me to come home and like feel more of an energy with you. You know, if you focus on yourself, that's, I think, the most healthiest way. The second you make it about the relationship, that's when you run into hot water. I've gone through a lot of couples where it's like, they just keep hitting a wall and they're like, maybe if we open it up, that'll fix things.
No. Because being open is not a solution.
No.
It's not a solution
for a bad relationship.
Yeah, exactly. Because I know people that there's been like cheating in a relationship and then post the cheating, it's been like, okay, fine, we'll be open. And then no one's happy because that's not what they wanted.
Or it's like just not compatible and they're like, well, maybe if we had more people, I get to talk to you less and that'll make me happier. And it's just like, why don't we just not talk at all anymore? So I think it's just negotiating that. And we live in an amazing time again where there's so many opportunities to have this discussion and you can bring it up like, hey, I watched this video on Hannah's channel. What do you think?
Use like some external stimulus, like a YouTube video, film, book, whatever, and go, yeah, what did you think of that? Even if you're just talking about it conceptually. You know
I love how your like conceptual talk is like sounds like theater. Hello, partner. How are you doing? Today I was reading this thing.
That is exactly how I talk. Thank you so much, Shannon, for coming and chatting and being on my channel. We did a video over on Shannon's channel that you should check out where we talked about pornography, and Shannon just plugged my book, which is great. Thank you.
Yeah, I love your book.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's plugged in me right now, actually. Whatever that means.
I don't know, but I'm into it. So go check out Shannon's YouTube channel. It is incredible if you love all things sexy, sciencey, relationship-y, theory. Fascinating. Your full screen show, do you want to plug that?
Shan Boody is Your Perfect Date is a show where I go on 10 different psychological experiments to test out how people can effectively connect with one another, and it's really fascinating and interesting, so you can go and check that out. And I'm also going to be on your podcast.
There will be an episode of the Banging Book Club out that I'll link in the description where me and Lucy are going to chat to Shannon all about her show and how it relates to The Game, which is one of the books that we read for Banging Book Club. So definitely check that out as well. Please give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and let us know in the comments your thoughts on monogamy, polyamory, open relationships, where you sit with all of that. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.